Guruka Singh, thank you very much for sitting down and talking to myself today. It's very nice to meet you. I would like to ask you, as a first question, what is it to be spiritual?
It's a journey. It's a journey of fearlessness. Because really to be spiritual means you have to be willing to look in the mirror and see yourself as you are with all your faults and all your strengths. And then you have to love yourself as you are, and you have to honestly work on yourself to kind of clean out your dirt, because most people sweep it under the rug because they don't want to look at it, because it's very uncomfortable to see your own stuff. But when you die, you're forced to see all your stuff. Any pain you caused to someone in your life, or any hurt you did to someone, you experience what they were experiencing at that moment. It's not like, they say your life flashes before your eyes. That's not what happens. You feel what they felt. And that's why people are afraid of dying, because subconsciously they remember the last time they died, because the soul keeps going. And that fear is there. So you come into life with that fear, and then you have to overcome it. Because unless you work on yourself and get straight with yourself, you can't really be straight with other people. And you can't really use all your energy to properly serve. So to be spiritual to me means to overcome that fear and to decide you're going to work on yourself, and to do it very honestly so that you can be the most excellent person you are.
Do you feel in that respect that that spirituality is something that is at all, if it is at all, needed in the world, or would you think that's a dangerous thing to kind of dictate what is needed?
It's not about being needed, it's what's happening. As people because the whole planet is changing, The world used to be this big, and now the world is the size of a grapefruit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And people are in instantaneous communication with each other. So because everything's accelerating, those people who are very attached to their stuff, they get more and more uncomfortable and scared. And people who are scared go into like a black and white world, where this is good and this is bad, and this is mine and that's yours, and it's a very black and white world. So people are either going to go nuts because they're holding on so tight, or they're going to be transformed with the help of their friends and with the help of other people, like-minded people. Because ultimately this world can't survive without people sharing. And so hoarding stuff and holding on to stuff and having 10 Rolls Royces and 14 bank accounts and everything, those days are over. It's not going to happen. So, but the people who live that way are under the illusion that that's what's happening. You have to say, the dinosaurs didn't know they were dying. As they sunk it slowly into the tar pits, they still said, man, look at all these leaves here. These are mine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people talk about things like catastrophe and global warming and crises in the world and everything. The fact is, all of this stuff happens to bring people together. Remember when the tsunami came in the Philippines? Mm-hmm. And people flew in from everywhere to feed people, and doctors flew in and all of that. When there's a crisis and people say, oh, it's a tragedy, this happened, what it actually does is force people to come together, to share and to comfort each other. So I think that there's actually going to be more crises happening on the planet, because human beings are hard learners. So it takes a while sometimes and a little external pressure for people to realize that, oh my God, I'm human, and I need to take care of this human,
It's interesting. So it's kind of about, as you were saying, about embracing all the sides of reality, kind of dark and light, and how inseparable they are. Does that tie into what you're saying there about how normally something, say a tragedy would happen, say something like a tsunami or what have you, and everyone would be very quick to judge that as a bad thing,
Yeah.
But would you say that because bad kind of spins with good, and because they are essentially part of the same thing, like two it's polarity, isn't it? Two sides of the same thing. All those things then fuel for awakening, or like, do we need to have a different relationship with suffering, like as you've said, like acknowledging it and incorporating it and integrating it rather than just trying to make the light side win all the time? Is it about accepting all of
The cardinal rule of what you call spirituality
mm-hmm.
is that the other person is you.
Mm-hmm.
So then, you know, where's the problem? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as people feel trapped in their own skin, you know, you serve them and you take care of them, and
mm-hmm.
you know, you do your best, because people, a snake can't shed its skin until it's time. You can't make it shed its skin, you know. People are going to grow as they're going to grow. And, you know, spirituality isn't something lofty, you know, like, oh, that person's so high, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that person's just, you know. Everybody's the same as everybody else. I'm just a guy just like you, except I've gotten up in the early morning for 45 years and meditated every morning. That's all. That's the only difference between me and you.
Mm-hmm. I've only been going for a year, so
You know, that's all. If you clean yourself
mm-hmm.
and you do it on a daily basis, your shit drops away and becomes unimportant, and then things just unfold, and you're present with them, and you take care of what needs to be done. It's a very simple way to live. You know, we hustle and hassle, you know, for this and that and the other thing, and all it does is stress us out.
Would you say that, I mean, that's very much something I picked up on, because I've been editing the videos as they've been coming in from these guys, and I remember something that I've put in the main video was that that message of, you know, non-duality, that thing where you said, you know, kids, if you're looking at someone, having a conversation with someone, what you need to remember, I think you said it was the first rule of the summer camp, which is that you acknowledge that that other person is you. I mean, how do we experience that beyond, in a sense that's beyond just the kind of intellectual understanding? You know, how do you feel that?
The problem is when people are having a conversation or something, usually people aren't listening to each other. You know, you're thinking about the next thing you want to say. So you're turning that over in your head while the other person's talking, you know? And that's like you're waiting for them to take a breath so you can say the thing that was on your mind.
Yeah.
So I think the only way to do it is it's mindfulness. It's dropping your agendas and what you want out of a situation and what you think's going to happen or what you want to happen, and being fully present with the other person. You know, looking in their eyes and seeing who they are and listening to their voice, and, you know, and feeling compassion for that person and love for that person. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? So it starts at home, you know. You got to be able to look in the mirror in the morning instead of saying, oh, you know, my hair is weird, or I got a zit or something. You know, you got to be able to look in the mirror and go.
Yeah. It's a shame that kind of there's been because obviously in our culture there's a sense that loving yourself it's been used as a pejorative, hasn't it, for quite some time.
To me, loving yourself is loving God.
Mm. Mm.
Look, if God's
God
inside of you and you're God, and I'm God and you're God, it's all God. What is this not loving yourself stuff? If God could have made anything better than you, he would have. So what's your problem?
So it's like even in loving someone else, you love yourself anyway, isn't it? So
yeah, I don't think you can properly love someone until you love yourself.
Yeah.
Because what happens mostly in relationships is people are still working out their stuff.
Mm.
You know, you got your stuff, whoever you're with has their stuff, and then the stuff gets tangled up together. And then, you know, you kind of take something personally that isn't about you. It's really about the other person.
Mm.
And there's that tangle thing that goes on, you know. So when you get married and you're really married, you got to sort that stuff. And sometimes it takes time and sometimes it's painful. But I went through a point in my marriage where I said, look, I got to own my own stuff. If I'm angry about something she did, that's my anger. It has nothing to do with what she did. You know, she did what she did and I reacted to it, you know. But that kind of relationship with yourself where you're willing to look in the mirror and say, that's my shit, that's not anybody else's, and then deal with it and take responsibility for it, you know?
It's quite empowering, isn't it, to kind of realize that?
It's real freedom.
Yeah, yeah. That you can't be kind of kicked around by the world. Like, it's, you know, it's like, well, it's only ever you kicking you around, so you can kind of choose how you respond, can't you?
The world isn't personal, but people really take it personally.
Yeah, I did for 26 years, you know.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I know.
Wonderful. I'll get a little bit more scientific, if you don't mind. A little bit more scientific, as if that's, I'm not suggesting that isn't scientific, which is what the next question is really, which is, do you feel like spirituality is inherently scientific and something that's kind of keeping people away from maybe, you know, I suppose you've said that it's happening whether people are, whether they like it or not, because the truth can't stay hidden long and all that. But it would seem that if there's any reluctance in the West, it seems to be because people kind of associate it with religion or what have you, or dogma, or something associated with oppression, you know, and that kind of more of that dogmatic interpretation of spirituality.
Yeah.
So would you say it is inherently scientific?
In its essence, spirituality and science are the same thing. They just are different languages for describing the same thing. You know, I worked in subatomic particle physics for 15 years. So, you know, the deeper you go, you discover new particles. The deeper you go, you discover new energies. Each time we build a bigger accelerator, we discover new. And scientists are all saying, well, if we just find this last piece, it'll all fit together. And then they find that piece and then, oh, well, that's not balanced. We need another piece over here. Then they go looking for that piece. Yeah. So it's kind of like an endless quest. Mm-hmm. And I once said to my spiritual teacher, I said to him, well, if that's true, you know, isn't God just like laughing up his sleeve, you know, at the physicists? I said, so what's the point of physics anyway? And he just cracked up and he said, you have a good job, don't you?
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is you can't get there with your mind because it's beyond the mind. And religion has fallen into the trap of becoming a business. In other words, you pay a middleman to do something for you, to get absolved or to pray for you or whatever. It's happened with Sikhs too. I mean, it's happened all over the world. The fact is, I think religion is going to be obsolete in 50 years. It's just not going to even exist anymore because the level of perception of people about what's true is getting higher and higher. Mm-hmm. And that's going to put middlemen out of business because either you make the direct connection yourself or, you know, forget it. What do you want to do? Pay somebody else to do stuff for you? Mm-hmm. You can't do it. It's only an illusion that you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I can say the same thing in religious language and the same thing in scientific language. So if I'm talking to people who are, you know, rationalists, I'll talk about, you know, how hair acts on the body and the way that there's nerves in your chin that are protected by the beard, the way it grows, because it's a lunar receptor of lunar energy, which controls a woman's menstrual cycle through her pituitary gland, which is the master gland. And women change with the phases of the moon. They're always different. You know, one day they want to talk, and the next day they're like, I don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. The next day they're like, I want to go shopping, you know, and the next day it's like, leave me alone. So, but that's how women are. They just change because this nerve is open. But guys grow hair here for a reason. And the reason is because men are controlled by solar energy more than women. I mean, we have lunar energy too. But a guy, really, what a woman wants in a guy is that he be steady. You know, he's not going to freak out one time and then, you know, act all lovey-dovey another time. And, you know, she wants him to be a man. She wants him to be steady. And it's that steadiness, like the sun that just shines on everyone all the time, that a woman loves in a man.
Is that what masculine energy is? Like, it's more, because it's obviously more consistent and doing, isn't it? It's more like it has this... Where femininity has this more.
There's a lot of aspects to masculine energy. Yeah. One of them, I mean, guys are like this, you know, and women are like this. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way we're built.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, look, the egg just sits there, waiting for the sperm, right? And the guy shoots, thousands and thousands of sperms, and those sperms, they're all competing madly and swimming around and making circles. Man, I'm faster than you are. Bang, I'm the one who gets in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the masculine energy naturally is to go for it. I'm the one. And to compete. And the feminine energy is to sit there and, let it come. So that's the way. Fundamentally, male and female energies are different. Women are receptive and wider in their spectrum of what they can tune into. And men are very goal focused, get it done.
Is there an imbalance in the world then between masculine and feminine?
No, is there an imbalance between day and night?
Do you think it's just as it needs to be at all times?
It's just as it needs to be.
Is every grain of sand exactly where it needs to be in the world, Guruka Singh?
Everything is always perfect. It's only our preconceptions and our expectations that make us think that it isn't. So, I'm 68 years old. And what I've done now in my old age, except I'm actually a kid, so.
I've seen your socks in the videos. I love them.
I've just given up my expectations. And man, people come up to me and say, "Why are you so happy?" And it's like, hey, whatever's happening, that's cool. It doesn't matter to me. I'm good with it.
Cool. So one of my questions was actually, are you happy? I'm going to ask it. I will ask it. Yeah, are you happy?
Did you ever see the movie Chinatown?
I didn't know. I haven't seen that.
With Jack Nicholson. And
right.
They made it was a really good movie. I recommend it. He's a detective named Jake. They made a follow-up, a sequel to that movie. It was called The Two Jakes. It's a crappy movie. But there's one great scene in it where he goes looking for the girl, and he comes to this house, and the house is locked. And so he wanders around back into the garden, and it's this beautiful rose garden. And there's this old Japanese gardener who's with one of those Japanese clippers, and he's trimming the roses, and Jack comes up behind him. And the gardener doesn't even turn around, and he says, "Hello, Jack." And Jack says, "Hi, how are you?" And he says, "Can I ask you a question?" The gardener says. Jack says, "Okay." And he says, "Jack, are you happy?" And Jake says, "Well, who can answer that question?" And the gardener goes back to cutting the roses, and he says, "Anyone who's happy."
Yeah.
It's all good. I literally don't have any time that I'm unhappy ever. Because who am I to be unhappy about something? It's what's happening. It's like I know better than the universe. Bring it on.
So could you just tell us in your words, what is ego then?
Ego is the illusion that you're doing something.
Right. Okay. Specifically doing.
Yeah. Because actually you're not. It's just being done. And if you think you're doing it, then sometimes things go your way and sometimes don't. But if you watch it being done, it's like, wow, check that out. Those videos I do on YouTube, I never remember a word I say. I go back sometimes and listen to those videos. It's like, wow, check that out,
Did I say that?
I didn't even know what happened.
So is that because, does it come from a deeper place then? Guruka Singh,
it comes from being present. Not off in your head somewhere.
Is there a point to it all, Guruka Singh, do you think? Or do you think a point is something that a human mind attributes to things? Is there not a point?
This is the point.
Wow. I think you're right. This is the point. And is that applicable to any situation in which one might find himself? This is the point. This is it.
Yep.
I feel that to be very true.
You know what?
There's no point in interviewing anymore.
We've done in this interview, man? We've laughed a lot.
Yeah,
that's a good interview.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Definitely. Because you're from a place of science. You say you were so you're a quantum physicist, or what was it? Just Was it
I was a research associate
Right.
in high energy particle physics.
right?
And my degree is actually in neurobiology.
Okay.
So I grew up being trained as a scientist. That's because I'm just kind of a geeky person. But
Yeah.
the fun of it is, you see, when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be an astronomer
Mm.
because I looked up in the sky and was like, awesome. I want to know the secret that's behind that,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Mm.
And then when I got older, I wanted to be a biologist because it's like, no, the secret's in the cell. You know, it's in the DNA. I want to get in there and understand the secret the DNA holds. So I studied biology.
Mm.
You know, then I said, well, the secret's in non-living things too. So it's actually about how the universe is built. So I'm going to do physics, you know? And then I discovered, yeah, it's all those places and more. And so then I discovered I had a whole different work to do than that.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Mm.
but everything you do in your life prepares you
Mm.
for the things that come later. And you may not realize at the time why you got a business degree or, you know, why you did music or whatever. But later in your life, it unfolds and you understand
Mm.
why you had that skill, because there's a moment that comes in your life when you can really use that to help someone.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And then you understand why.
Well, just like you were saying there about how kind of looking back on your life and kind of going, well, that's why that happened. You know, that's why I was broken up with, or why I did that degree, or why this little chance encounter occurred, or what have you. So is it important, would you say, in that respect, is it important to just accept things as they happen? Like, because everyone out there is so, feels like there's a real kind of, especially in the hometown that we're from, South Shields, there seems to be a high degree of depression and, you know, real suffering. And it
Yeah.
all seems to be based on this kind of resistance to what is. You know, how you were saying, the point is, it's this. You know, and it just seems like, I could say that to some people in South Shields and they would just be like, what are you talking about? No, this is rubbish. The weather's horrible. I've got bills. I've got this. I've got that. How important is it to just accept things then, if it's all
First of
the
all,
point?
it doesn't matter whether you accept things or not,
Okay.
because the universe is a university. And there's lessons every day.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, you have to be graduated. So
Mm.
if you haven't learned your lessons, you get to come back again and take the course over.
right, yeah, right. Okay, that's interesting, because I think you're helping me relinquish my sense of control here, because although it comes from, I feel like it comes from a good place, and from a place of having had a year's worth of spiritual experience, and just kind of looking back on how much that's changed all of our lives, really, for the better. It's kind of hard not to go out there and be like, guys, have you heard of meditation? Or you're depressed, have you heard of this? You should try this, you should try this. But is that am I getting caught up on myself by questioning that? Because that's coming naturally as well.
First of all,
you know.
I understand your enthusiasm, but never tell other people what to do.
No, exactly, yeah.
Look, you want to control something, control yourself.
Mm-hmm. Is that all you can do at the end of the day?
Because ultimately, the only thing you can do is develop your own discipline
Mm-hmm.
and your own excellence. And then you become a very bright person.
Mm.
And when you become a very bright person, people come to you
Mm-hmm.
and they say, why are you so happy?
Yeah.
And then you can sit them down and say, you want to learn something? You want to try something? Give them some tools. Because it's not about you. It's about the tools. If the tools work, they work. And some tools don't work for some people, other tools do. So people have to go. You know, their way of enlightenment is, you know, snowboarding. You know, my son is like, he's a master snowboarder. And when he's snowboarding, he's like, his mind is off.
Mm.
You know, he's got his tunes on and he's in the groove and like, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
And he's such a pure soul that when he touches people or bees with people, it's like they totally relax and get healed.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what tools you use. That's not what's important. What's important is that you be honest with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and not just crapping around and really saying, okay, I need to work on this, and then find a way to work on it that works for you.
Mm.
Everybody's like, I've got the formula, you know, here, try this patented meditation. Only $49.95.
Yeah.
Ain't happening.
Mm-hmm. So it's seems as if it's just extremely personal, isn't it? It's individualistic in every
It
sense.
is.
Yeah.
It's all about looking in the mirror and being honest with yourself, because then your relationships with other people get honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was talking to these kids about how they have one face with their parents and one face with their mates.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're like two different people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, at home you're all, oh, you know, yeah, you know. When you're with your mates, you know, you're the man.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
they all cracked up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I said, it's true, isn't it? And they went, yeah. I said, not even that. When you're with some people, you're one way, and with a different group, you're hanging with a different group, you act a different way.
Mm.
I said, so why can't you just be you with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And they thought about that. I said, what, are you trying to please people? And they went, yeah, I guess so.
Mm.
I said, why? Well, I want my parents to love me.
Mm-hmm.
I want my mates to like me and respect me. You know,
Mm.
as long as you want something from someone else,
Mm.
then you act in a certain way to get from them, to try and get from them what you think you want.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting that you say that, Guruka Singh, because I mean that's something that's really been emancipating for me in the last year, which was realizing that, because when I was growing up, I would be that way, one way with the parents, one way with this friend, another way with this friend, and it used to actually cause us a lot of suffering, because I thought, well, hang on, there's this, everyone else seems to have such solid personalities and identities, and I'm just this weird thing that doesn't know who he is and kind of changes all the time, and I thought of that as a bad thing, you know, because Carrot as
You left out an adjective.
Go on.
You're this wonderful weird.
I know that now. You know, I know that now, and I know that more so sitting talking to yourself. You know, but it's so wonderful that these kids get to hear that at an early age. You know, because I mean that was 17, 18, and I was, you know, anxious about not having a personality. You know, not having this consistent.
But at 17, 18, you're finding out who you are.
Well, yeah, still.
And you're experimenting.
Yeah.
You're experimenting. You're checking, okay, if I be this way, what happens? If I be that way, what happens, you know?
Mm-hmm. But it feels like there's so much fear in it as well, because I was so vested in every version of myself. It was just like, I don't know.
Kind of tiring, isn't it?
Oh, very. And I feel like if even one person had said what you have just told us that you said to those kids, which is just acknowledging that you're different with people, and that's what people do.
Well,
that must have been.
It's where it starts. It's part of looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And then asking yourself, okay, why? What do I want out of this situation, and why do I want that?
Do you think do you think it's good for do you think this whole week has been good for the kids? How do you feel like it's been? Is it important?
You take away from an experience what you bring to it.
Okay.
So I think those kids who came here with an open heart and really wanted to have an experience have had amazing experiences. And those who came here, you know, just because like their parents told them to come, and you know, they're just being cut up and being a rascal and all that, you know, they're causing trouble for the other kids. It's just like, we just isolate those kids, pull them aside and say, you know, that's 2 strikes, 3 strikes and you're out.
Would they be allowed back? Is forgiveness is important, isn't it?
Yeah, they'd be allowed back,
Yeah.
but they can't make the other kids feel unsafe.
Sure.
This is a safe space. So the boundary is when another kid feels threatened or unsafe, or someone has actually been hurt or assaulted. That's where you draw the line. You just say, look, you can't do that. It's not about you. It's about them. They're here. They're in a space where they expect to be safe. They need to be safe. If you can't do it, then, you know.
Why Sikhism, Guruka Singh? Why is that something
Well,
that
first of all, I don't believe there's any such thing as Sikhism, and I don't believe in isms. The ism is not in my vocabulary.
Right.
Okay, there's something called living as a Sikh.
Okay.
And what that means is, to me, it's tools that you use in your life. All this is tools. Wearing white is like not easy to do. You know, I get pizza on me or ice cream or something. You do a lot of laundry. So it's like a tool I use to be more self-aware and more graceful.
Right.
You know, it's easy to be a slob, but I wanted to train myself to be more mindful about what I'm doing. So wearing white is a way of mindfulness. And so all of these things are tools. The turban, because we don't cut our hairs at all. Because hairs have a tremendous amount of energy in them. You know, Samson and Delilah, right? And people don't understand how much energy comes in through their hair. Your hairs are like little aerials. And when I wear my hair down, it's like I picked up all kinds of stuff from everybody around me, but when I put my hairs up on top of my head, it's like a laser beam, like I could really focus with my hair tied up. And I experimented wearing it down, wearing it up, wearing it down. And the turban is just a really practical way to protect yourself and concentrate that energy, and it creates a pressure across here, a very light pressure, that the blood circulation's increased in the cranium and stuff. I mean, it's a tool. And I wouldn't wear one unless it worked for me. And if it didn't work for me, I wouldn't be wearing it. You know what I'm saying? This isn't about like, thou shalt not and thou shalt. Like, way beyond that. That's why I'm saying it's not about religion. So, you know, the Sikh way of life is based on 3 principles. You know what they are?
I don't.
Spend a part of your day relating to something bigger than you. And to me, what that means is get up in the morning and meditate and connect yourself to the infinity that's inside of you, so that you don't get stuck in your, oh my God, it's 8:30. I got to do this, and this, and this. Wow, I got to check Facebook. You know, I got to go make coffee. You know, it's
Absolutely.
like, hey, give yourself some space to be magnificent and infinite and beautiful, and to bow your head before something bigger than you. So that's the first principle. Second principle is don't live off other people.
Okay.
You know, don't be a sponger. Earn your living honestly, work honestly, treat people honestly. Don't try to, you know, make a good, get somebody by, you know, tricking them and making a deal that's in your behalf. Think that if the other person is you, everything is a fair exchange of energy. That means if you have a shop, your prices are fair for the goods that you're selling. If you're working, you know, the wages have to be fair for the work that's being done. If the other person's you, there's a balance in the energy. So the second principle is be honest, work honestly. And the third principle is share what you have with everyone. Because it's not yours anyway. It's just been loaned to you for a while, like your body. You know, you got to return it. You know, you don't even get to collect the deposit, man. I mean, that's it. So why not take what you have and share it with everyone? So as Sikhs, you know, the doors of our house are always open. Anyone who comes, you know, is fed, is cared for, whatever they need. You know, they need a place to stay, whatever it is. I mean, it's like, it's not your stuff anyway, so. Those are the 3 principles of the Sikh way of life. Connect to something bigger than yourself, work honestly, and share what you have.
Wonderful.
So in that, and what I've seen is that somebody can be a Jew and be a Sikh. Somebody can be a Catholic and be a Sikh. Somebody can be a Buddhist and be a Sikh. Because being a Sikh isn't about a religion. It's about principles. And then we have these tools that we use. I mean, this what's called bana, you know, these kind of clothes that we wear on the turban and stuff like that. We have tools that are sound tools for meditation called Shabad Guru. You know, we have lots of tools in our life that help us tune ourselves up and be as excellent as we can be. So to me, it's like a toolkit and living righteously.
What is meditation to you?
Meditation isn't, you know, that's not meditation. You know, like when you brush your teeth, you don't think, I'm going to go brush my teeth now. You know, it's like you just brush your teeth because it's like what you do. You know, when you comb your hairs or you get dressed, it's not like you have to make a plan. It's just what happens. It's part of your routine. The problem is that, you know, people take a bath, people brush their teeth, people all stuff, but there's dirt in your mind too. You know, thoughts that kind of undo you, things you get obsessed with or hung up on, or, you know, negative thoughts about yourself or about other people. So all meditation is like taking a shower in your head. It's a way to kind of clean the rubbish out from your own mind so that you can be clear. Because most people carry a lot of rubbish around. You know, somebody comes in your house and like, you know, oh, you've cleared things up and, you know, made things a place for them to sit and, you know, house isn't a mess, and then they come in and then they shit all over your floor, with their crap that they've come to dump on you. I mean, geez, clean yourself up, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Meditation is just a tool. It's a tool that allows you to do some inner cleansing of your own thought process so that you can be mindful.
You said something as well about connecting with something higher than you through meditation as well. So as well as it being a practical tool for clearing out the mind stuff, is it also very...
Yeah, but meditation is not always blissful.
No. Yeah.
Sometimes, you meditate and all these insane thoughts come up and you feel itchy and you don't feel like doing it and all that stuff. That's all part of the process of just going through it, and letting it do what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole universe is inside you, but no one taught you to go in. And all the world tries to pull you out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Music, TV, computer, phone, your mates you're talking to, whoever, everything's out.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to learn to be able to close your eyes, because there's more light in there than there is even outside. And to be able to move in and out and move between the worlds easily is something that is very powerful.
Mm.
So the problem is, see, people are afraid to go in. Don't know what I'll find in there, Maybe I'll find something really weird. But that's why I said fearless when we started this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be fearless to travel,
Mm.
to take that journey inside yourself and explore and have those experiences, because it's what makes you whole.
Mm.
If you have a lever and it's all on this side, it's like that. You got to have a balance between in and out.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I've raised my kids. They all learn to meditate, at the age of 2 and 3. And
Has it been very helpful for that? Like, can you see a difference in kids that meditate and
yeah,
kids
you
that
ought to
don't?
meet them.
Yeah, I would love to.
These are kids who know how to calm themselves down.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, what this kind of discipline gives you, it's easy to be cool when things are smooth.
Yeah.
It's when things turn to crap and everything's happening. Can you maintain your balance? You know? So what meditation and yoga gives you is the ability. It gives you really powerful nervous system, so that things can be just flying to pieces around you, and you can be really clear and steady, which enables you to help other people in that moment. When things are freaking out around you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really useful thing to have. And I see these guys who go to the gym all the time. They do powerlifting and everything. And they got these like arms the size of trees, all this. But their nervous systems are weak.
Yeah.
They're easy to anger, and they're not balanced people at all.
Mm-hmm.
So strength comes, there's physical strength, mental strength, and spiritual strength.
Mm-hmm.
If you just think strength is physical, you're not really a strong person. You just got strong muscles.
Yeah, sure. Are you all right for a few more
Nobody
questions?
has come in, at least not that I know of. If somebody was freaking out, they'd be here. I'm not on duty for another 15 minutes, I think, or 10 minutes.
Would you like the 15 minutes to take to yourself? Like, wouldn't want you just have to go
I
straight
am with
from this?
myself. How often do you get to have these kind of conversations?
Well, I mean, this is all we talk about, but it's very rare we get to have a guru.
Yeah, but
And,
I'm not a guru.
Well, that makes you
I'm
a
just
guru,
a
though.
guy
see?
who's worked on myself for a long time. That's
Yeah, yeah.
all. It's like,
Yeah. Seems as if the only ones that are only people who are worthy of the title are the people who go, I'm not worthy of the title. It's paradoxical,
anyone who
right?
hangs up a shingle, sayonara.
Mm.
If somebody calls themselves a guru, it's time to say,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Yeah. Yeah. Guru is just a noun, isn't it? I suppose.
well, you know what the word actually means, guru?
Go on.
Gu means darkness,
Mm.
and ru means light.
Uh,
So it's that thing inside of you that pulls you out of your own darkness into the light.
mm.
Doesn't mean that you don't recognize your own darkness and even embrace it, but you don't live in it. So everybody's got the guru inside of them.
Mm.
You know, it's just a question of, are you paying attention?
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah, but you know, it's okay to forget.
Yeah, it's fun to forget. It's fun.
In fact, the fun thing about forgetting is,
Yeah.
then you remember. And it's like, wow, I forgot.
Yeah. Suppose you've got to not know to know, haven't you? They can
Yeah.
go together, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, so-
When I was 17, I knew everything.
Yeah.
Now I know that I know nothing. It's
Yeah,
much
yeah.
more fun.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Like ignorance being the illusion of knowledge rather than just. Yeah.
I make these
not
YouTube
knowing
videos,
things.
you know,
Yeah.
and people leave comments like, "Oh, this guy's cool" and all stuff. And some guy, the last comment on the comments was, "This man's a fool." And I replied to that comment and I wrote, "Thank you so much. That's the best compliment I've received all day."
What did he say? Did he give it any?
He didn't respond.
He didn't respond. He's still scratching his head about that one. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So when stuff like that happens, and you like say like someone comes up to you and you know offers you that negativity, you know, like you're a fool, judges you in that way. What goes? I mean, do you get the same ego process in your head? Like, does the ego kind of go, I'm not a fool. I need to defend this position. I need to. Are you mindful with that, or is that just not happening anymore? You know, like at what stage are you at in that respect?
If somebody comes up to me and calls me Osama or calls me a fool or something, I just smile and say, "Bless you, man," and walk away.
Wow. So it just doesn't affect you in that.
It doesn't affect me at all.
Wow.
That's them just showing themselves. And if you don't respond, then what's left hanging in the air?
Mm.
If you don't respond and you just go and walk away, the last thing they heard was their own voice.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And do you think it's a good way to get? I mean, because I suppose then, because no one's inherently bad anyway. I mean, like
Of course not.
there is bad and good, but like you know when people say that's a bad person, like because
They're slow learners.
Yeah, sure. But so, what do you think? I mean, is that
Also, they're first-year students.
yeah.
You know, maybe they were a pig in the last life. It's like, this is their first human body.
Right. Right. Yeah. So would they go away? Do you feel like they would go away from a situation like that, and then because no one is inherently bad, there would be that sense of like, God, you know, like that was mean. You know, we think there'd be something inside them, just like because they didn't get
Maybe
that bite.
and maybe not. That's between them and themselves.
Right.
I don't have anything to do with it. All I can do is be a mirror,
Mm.
you know, and let it hang there. You did something that was, you know, you were just acting like a knob. I just say, okay, you know, look in the mirror.
Mm.
That's all. I'm not going to say anything. It doesn't affect me.
What's consciousness, Guruka Singh? If anything, if anything, you know, what is it? As the hard question.
Look, animals have consciousness.
Yeah.
Animals have thoughts. Animals have emotions. Animals feel pain. Animals feel joy. So what's the difference between a human and an animal?
None. I would say none.
No, there's a difference.
Well, okay.
I mean, we are animals, but we're something else.
Okay. Go on.
Nobody else has answered. Humans are the only animals that are consciously conscious that they have a consciousness.
Mm-hmm. What about something like an elephant where they are aware of themselves? Or is it?
They're aware of their identity.
Okay.
They are conscious,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not consciously conscious of their own consciousness. You can watch yourself do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, anybody here play music?
Yeah.
Okay, you know when you're in the groove, it's like, it's not you. It's like
Yeah.
you're watching it happen.
Yeah.
You know, you just watch, I'm like, wow, check that out, you know? That ability to zero yourself out, animals don't have that.
Mm.
To understand that I'm the watcher, I'm watching this stuff go down,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's really cool, but it's not me.
Mm.
Animals can't do that.
Mm. So then would you say, well, does that then mean that humans are special then? Like, do we
What
have
do you mean by special?
well, do we have, say, if in that sense, I mean, because that would imply that there's a hierarchy there in a way, almost. No?
It's not hierarchy.
Just difference.
It's a responsibility.
Okay.
Because, we're the people who can become self-aware and then become kind to all creatures and to each other. So, there's a responsibility. And you grow into that responsibility. And that's what's called being a grown-up. I mean, spiritually. A spiritual grown-up. Spiritual maturity. You take responsibility. You're not doing anything, but at each moment you have an opportunity to take responsibility in that moment. You grab hold and you let go. But at that moment you were present, and what needed to be done happened through your hand in that moment, but it wasn't you doing it. Animals can't do that.
Is there not more a sense that kind of that animals, you could kind of look at them and say that, and perhaps they're not more enlightened, but the fact that it's like an animal just does it just does.
They're
its
fully
stuff,
present.
Yeah, they're very present, aren't they? Yeah.
Do you have a dog?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we love dogs, and that's something we love about dogs.
Doesn't your dog watch you?
Full of presence. It's full of it's
presence.
Not thinking
And,
as well.
and he's smelling you from across the room. He can smell in your sweat how you're feeling, if you're upset, if you're tired, if you're sick. He can see in your body motions, the way you're holding your body, the tone of your voice, all of that. So yeah, animals have presence.
But humans have the awareness of presence and things like that. Is that where the distinction lies, would you say? There is just that extra layer of
we all have
consciousness.
jobs to do. A dog's job is to be a dog. Dog loves you.
Yeah.
A dog wants to please you. A dog has complete faith that his food's going to appear and that it's all okay. He's being a dog. You know what I'm saying?
I do. So what's our job? The job starts to be.
Well, first of all, our job is to take care of each other. That's why we're here. But you have a very specific job that is yours, because when your soul came into this body, you kind of signed a contract. It's like, okay, I'm going back. I got something to deliver. I'm going to deliver. It's like the parcel van, The guy, they put those parcels in the van, and the guy's got to deliver them all before he finishes his run for the day. And then he can say, man, I completed my run. I delivered all those parcels. So you got a parcel when you got born that was yours and yours alone to deliver. And life is a process of discovering what that parcel is and delivering it. Because if you don't deliver it, it goes back on the van, you get to come back and try again.
Okay. Psychedelics. I would like your opinion on psychedelics as a spiritual tool.
Psychedelics work. If there's two parts to it. There's the fact that you've got a key to a door, and you can open that door, and you can find out what's on the other side. But once you know that, why keep going through the same door over and over again? Because you like it? Okay, but then you're creating the duality of being high and not being high.
Yes.
Right? And then it's like, let's get high. So you've got this duality between being high and not being high. So once you've understood what life's about, then it's time to get on with it. And then it becomes a process of coming out of your head and into your heart. And psychedelics are wonderful for the people who need psychedelics to find out. There's lots of ways to find out. I mean, you can fall downstairs and knock your head and have your kundalini rise. I mean, you don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't judge any method,
Just another tool then, in a way.
For me, it was psychedelics that opened the door.
No.
But there came a point where I realized that it was an attachment for me.
Yeah.
That I was attached to the key rather than to what was...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it became about the key instead of about what was through the door.
Sure. Because being high is not being free, is it? Because you've always got to go down,
Well, also you get focused on, who's got the stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
hey.
Sure. Sure.
It's just the wrong focus point, because once you understand how it all works, then you got to do your part.
Mm-hmm. I could do a separate interview about that, but I won't. I'll go on to the next question, which is Carl wanted to know what is heart-centered awareness to you, Guruka Singh? What is it to live from the heart rather than from...
Look, if everything is God, and everything you see that luminous secret within that, and you love that, that's being heart-centered. It's like there's nothing that's not God. So where's the problem with anything? You know what I'm saying? If you see with eyes that see beyond the surface, then you are essentially, everything becomes worship. Talking to you, brushing my teeth, tying your shoelaces, it's like everything is sacred. So when everything becomes sacred, it doesn't matter whether it's a beautiful sunset or dog shit in the gutter. It's all sacred.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, just because you said the word God, what is God, Guruka Singh? What is God?
Look it up in the dictionary.
I don't want a definition.
You'll find it under.
To you, what is God?
God is what I said it is. It's that luminous secret in all things. That power that generates, organizes all the patterns of life, and then destroys them all to be regenerated again in every moment. It's the power that flows through everything. It's the seen and the unseen.
Yes.
There's nothing that's not God.
Guruka Singh, thank you very much for talking to us. We very much appreciate it.
I had a ball.
It's been brilliant, yeah. It's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you.